box. And then that's on. Okay, does that make sense? All right, we're live.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and start. Can you close the door? The developer meetup started at 6.
They do?
I'm technically.
That's what I
15 minutes
said.
late.
They do? They do?
You always do that, and everyone's like, really?
Yeah, they're the same.
Why not just leave
Because
it?
developer topics require more time.
Well,
You don't
developers are
have to sit
tardy.
in here. Sorry.
Wait, I'm the only one that's tardy, though.
I know, we had people here like, well, I thought they were here an hour early, but apparently they were only here half an hour early. Right, Pete?
For extra networking. Well, there's tables out here, Carol, if you need your extra 15 minutes. And free soda. Although it looks like you're set. So welcome to the Arizona North Valley Developers Meetup. This will be our third Developers Meetup here. If you're coming here if you're a little new and you're coming here, some of this will be over your head, but you're welcome, and you're welcome to absorb in as much developer knowledge as you can take. If you need access to Wi-Fi, it's all up here on the screen. If you're going to tweet anything about today's presentation, use the hashtag WPAZ. And if you want to follow along, all of my slides are available online. You can use a QR code or type that into your web browser. It's also public, so if you just search Google Presentations for North Valley Arizona Developer June, you'd probably find it. If you want to follow me, I'm Seth Karstens. This is my Twitter handle. Right? Handle? Okay. So you're welcome to follow me there. And here's the agenda for tonight. 15 minutes ago, we started. Webcam setup, welcome, and announcements. So we'll go through the welcome really fast, and then Betsy will do a few announcements, and I have a few of my own. And then we'll get started. We'll go around the room and meet everybody. I see a few familiar faces, but I see some new faces too, so I look forward to meeting you all. Betsy, why don't you do your announcements before I dive in?
My announcements?
Yes.
Well, we're not going to do introductions?
After.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're not ready, I guess I can do introductions now. So this is Betsy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Betsy.
So now for introduction.
Don't mess with me. So I just we're kind of planning out the next few months of meetups, and as Seth kind of mentioned, we are trying to do a developer meetup once a quarter. But the rest of the meetups are generally, more a mix of content for users and developers and beginning and intermediate and with bits of advanced sprinkled in. So we've been kind of coming up with topic ideas based on requests and suggestions, and I've got a few topics over the next few months that I'm looking for someone to volunteer to present on. Everybody here is welcome to present. If you've got a little bit of knowledge, then you probably have something you can teach. So let me just put out a few of the topics that we have had interest in but need a speaker on. One of them is talking about Google and Google integrations with WordPress. So it could be something around analytics and webmaster tools. There's been interest in Google authorship. Anything in the Google realm with respect to WordPress, there's been some interest in. So if anyone here has knowledge in that area and might be interested in putting together maybe a 20 to 45 minute presentation on the topic, talk to me or Seth.
If you want to do it next month, talk to me. That's your opinion.
Yeah, but we already have, I think we're pretty well set for next month. Next month we'll be having a presentation on Cloudflare, DNS management, and caching. And we may be looking for someone to present their favorite plugin. This is like a 10 to 20 minute spot where you get to present your favorite or a favorite WordPress plugin and just talk about it, demo it, show it what's cool about it. So anybody's welcome to make suggestions and just get up there and talk about that. Let us know what you want to present on. Not definite. So if you're interested, let me know. We have had, there's interest in having someone do that sort of presentation on an event plugin, on a good events plugin. So if you use or love a particular events plugin and want to demo that for everybody, please let us know. And editorial calendar, edit flow, there's a couple of plugins that help with editorial calendar. If you've got experience and are willing to get up there and talk about one of those, we would all appreciate it. Next month, we're going to continue our series on hosting, WordPress hosting options that we started a couple of months back. And so we'll have a presentation next month on either SiteGround or Pagely. I'm not sure which we'll have next month. If you're interested in the other things, we've already had a demo of the GoDaddy WordPress platform and WP Engine, and those are they should be in the on the YouTube, and on the YouTube channel.
Or on azwordpress.com.
Yeah, and then there's also been interest in having a I don't know. We got mixed reaction last month when I mentioned we may have a talk on WordPress multi-site. So I don't know. Is there interest on multi-site? And is there a speaker on multi-site?
I could probably talk on it now.
Now you could, yeah. We just delved into it this week for the first time.
Or maybe a panel.
A panel? A panel would be great.
A panel of people who have used multi-site, so we could kind of,
Yeah.
and maybe somebody else to ask questions in the Pressnomics, right? Where
Mhm.
you get a few
Oh, yeah,
people that
a
have used
moderator.
multi-site, and then some sort of moderator to like ask questions.
We did that here on e-commerce. And I think it worked really well because we had different perspectives and nobody needed to be a full-on expert, just had their experiences to share. So we could do that for
It
multi-site.
was George Lerner
That suggested
that
it?
suggested and offered to give his input into the topic.
Yeah. So maybe we'll have him on a panel. And anybody else want to just shout out a good idea for a topic?
Are any of you interested in presenting? I didn't see any, like, everybody's avoiding eye contact.
Come on. Look, I know very, very, I know a lot of things, but nothing very, very well or very deep, and I get up there. You all can do it.
Or if you know anyone else that's interested, please let us know.
Yeah. All right. Otherwise, we have to hear Seth talk every month.
I'm sure you're tired of it to say it like that.
Okay, I think that's it for that announcement. Does anybody else have any other announcements about upcoming events? You want to talk about the other WordPress meetups in town and what's coming up?
Sure. I'll talk about what's going up in Chandler. We are booked out through November. I cannot even believe. I know, it just is crazy.
Great.
I know. So this coming July, we're going to have April Holly talk about editorial calendar and planning out your content. So having a content plan. She's doing that in July, and then we also are having a hosting series as well. And in July, we have Flywheel coming in. Flywheel's kind of newer to the scene, so we're going to hear from Flywheel.
Hosting?
Hosting, yes.
Okay.
Flywheel hosting. And then in August, we have Joe Manna presenting on email integration into your website. And we'll have another host presenter. In September, we have Chris Lee presenting on customer relations management systems within WordPress, so using CRMs in WordPress. And October, we're going to have Kurt Payne doing site speed and how to optimize your site for site speed. And then in November, we're going to have 2 sessions, one on Google Analytics and conversion tracking, and then follow that up with A/B testing.
Nice.
So,
who's doing that?
The Google Analytics goal conversion tracking is April, and the A/B testing is John Goff.
Okay, cool.
All right, maybe we'll get April up here for a couple of those
You
topics.
should, yeah.
If no one else will volunteer.
Well, Well, we all know how much I like to hear myself talk. So. Doesn't bother me. Is that all you got?
That's it.
Any other?
What about the
Northwest.
the Northwest meetup? What's coming up?
I'm not gonna be there this next time. Brandy's taking care of it, and I'm not sure what she's talking about, sorry.
Oh, we have a new host we need to mention.
Oh.
I'm sorry, not a sponsor. Headway Themes
Oh, yeah.
is sponsoring us. They are making a site, because Northwest is not lucky enough to have a nice space that's free to them, like we
Free
have.
space, yeah.
Free space. And so Headway is making space available to the Northwest, so they're a sponsor now.
You're responsible.
Me?
Because you made me tweet when I had to do the presentation here,
Hi.
and he picked it up.
Full sponsor.
Yay!
So it looks like they're having an open forum is the
Oh,
plan.
is that what she's doing?
Mhm. That's what's on
Those seem
meetup.com.
to be popular, especially with the downtown boots meetup as well.
Oh, yeah, we need to
Oh,
check that
yeah,
one, too.
we have it'll be on July 1st, the Business of Web meetup, which is for people who would like to own a web design development business or already do. And it's mostly just roundtable discussion. We'll do a pretty loose agenda and ask what topics we want to discuss, but it can go in kind of any direction. So that's a good one too, and that's in downtown Phoenix.
Great. I don't think we have anyone else here. There's
There's one for every week.
that was all 4, right?
Yeah.
There's one in Tucson too, right? I don't know if anyone's
If I want Dr.
commuting to
Chandler,
Tucson,
I'm
but there's one in Tucson. All right. It's a developers meetup. I'm hiring developers, so I figured I'd throw that out there. I'll be hiring.
Why do they have to be young?
They don't have to be legally. I would like
Young-minded.
young-minded,
Yeah.
energetic, open-minded developers. They need to be young because I can't pay very much.
Okay.
But if you're interested in learning how to become a WordPress developer, I have over 14 years experience. I've trained more developers now, and I just got a new job where we get to hire a team of developers to build WordPress projects. So if you're interested in that at all, please contact me. I'll probably be hiring 3 to 4 people in the next 12 months. Or rather, you get paid to learn how to develop in WordPress, let me know. Announcements. Well, we already did a few of those, so I think we covered that. Did you know that there are WordCamps coming up? Seattle at the end of June. It's probably a little late to register for that. So we got Kansas City, July 12th. Milwaukee, July 25th to the 27th. Wow, that's a 3-day like the one in Phoenix. Vancouver, not exactly in the U.S., but close, on July 26th. In August in Columbus. And
I'll be speaking at that event.
Yeah, Betsy will be speaking there.
Which one?
Columbus.
Yeah.
And then New York is in August. Those are the upcoming WordCamps, so I figured I'd let you know about those. Oh, here we go. And let's circle around and meet everyone. See how far behind I am. Only 7 minutes. That's not bad. Okay. In case you haven't noticed, I'm really bad with time. So there will be a time on every single slide to try and keep me on track, so that you're all not here until 10 and listening to me talk. So let's go around the room. We'll start in the far back corner. Because you sat back there, I'm going to start with you.
I'm just along for the ride. She's here with me. My name's Dan. This is my first meeting, so right now I'm Dan.
Are you a developer?
I'm not actually. I'm a systems engineer at GoDaddy. I actually work for Felix.
Oh, great.
Cool.
Where's Felix?
He wanted to come. He had something else he had to. I think he had a birthday party or something.
So you drew the short straw, right?
I actually wanted to go. I've been trying to get out, but on the agenda, it said that there's about the GitHub updater plugin. I'm actually very interested in how people are using Git with WordPress. So anybody positive about that?
Cool.
I'm Carrie Fessinger. I have my own freelance business. This is my second meetup. So I actually do a lot of WordPress development for clients. I don't do a lot of the coding and stuff, so I routinely run into issues where I can do most all of it, but then I'll have some anomalies come up where maybe I need, someone that's better at coding than I am. So I'm routinely looking for people that can kind of jump in and help out here and there. So partially here to just learn more and for myself, but also in case anyone's interested in that, let me know.
Awesome. I'm sure you'll find someone.
I'm Mark Ritter. I head Ritter Marketing. I help local businesses get found online, and I'm also the host of the North Valley Meetup. Northwest Valley. This is the North Valley, right? Yeah, we're over that way. And I'm not a developer, but I'm trying to learn by osmosis, just hanging out with developers.
Great.
I am Brian Murphy. I do some WordPress development and life consulting right now. And just here because I got to talk tonight.
Yes, he will be speaking first, so you'll hear more from Brian. We'll move up here.
My name is Tim. I am not a WordPress developer, but I am a software engineer with C and C++ experience. Do mostly embedded and test systems. I'm here with Joe, but I'm interested in learning anything new. So
great.
I'm Jill Hollister. I've been developing WordPress sites for several years, but I feel like there's a lot I still need to learn. And I started a new job, and they want me to learn PHP, so to customize.
You can do some of that today.
Customize the WordPress. So.
Cool.
You came to the last meetup, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Mark, I've just been working with WordPress for a month, working on a couple sites.
Great.
I'm Brandon. Just kind of started about a month too.
I'll come back to you.
We had your back.
Come to all these meetings, it's fun.
Well, don't be so invisible then.
Sorry. I'm Brandon. I just started about a month ago learning stuff, but he's been wanting to come out for a while now. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can, different areas.
Okay, great. We'll come back.
Great. My name is Justin Tucker. I do custom theme development for agencies and people like that.
Great.
I'm Bob Smith. I'm actually on a television production company, but because I work on their own website and have people working on my website, actually just hired to rebuild, revamp our whole site. I like the intelligence as though, because I'm a control freak, what needs to be done, because I don't have time to do it. So I just like the knowledge of what should be going into it. So this is the place to do it.
Great. Back one row.
I'm Dan. I'm going to come to a couple of these, kind of give my few web terminals as much as I can for WordPress.
Awesome.
My name is Rajiv Dave. I run a couple of sites for a non-profit. I run multi-site. I do PHP, etc.
Okay. Sit on the panel.
I can, but I'm here to actually see how you guys write plugins and themes for month. And get better at it so that when my site breaks and there's something that upgraded, I can decipher it easy. Easy.
Okay.
I'm Lisa, I do web development. I came here for the GitHub plugin. Did you bait and switch? Are you going to do it?
No, we do my favorite function, so Brian's going to do that.
So you're going to do GitHub, and I have a specific question.
I'm going to do
Seth is
GitHub.
doing it.
He's going to do
Oh,
my favorite
okay,
function.
okay. So I have a specific question about SSH passwords.
Okay. Cool. I'm sure we'll handle that.
I'm Pete. I'm a brand new WordPress user. I write code in C++, C#. Had websites and websites, but I'm on GoDaddy with the WordPress opportunity and moving off of another system. I thought I'd learn more about that.
Great. Yeah, I skipped this whole front row here. People that I already know.
I'm Jeremy. I've been developing in WordPress for 5 years, or I don't know, ever since me and Seth used to work together. and now I help run Free Up Web Studio with Carol over here, and we're just a WordPress development shop.
I'm Carol, the other half of Free Up Web Studio, and I'm a power user of WordPress and been using WordPress for about 4 years.
Okay, you already know Betsy, huh? I'm Mara, and I am a WordPress developer, and I work with Betsy at Positive Development and Radiate WP.
Yeah, we got new cards if anybody wants.
Oh, I brought some.
You brought some?
Yay. New business cards.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have 45 minutes at the end to network with everyone.
Okay.
Can you pull it up and just I moved the camera around, so I want to make sure that I didn't set.
I don't know. Can I?
Oh yeah, we got a new one in the back.
Hi, I'm Anson. I'm not really a WordPress developer, but I have like a few WordPress sites. Mostly my background is actually business intelligence, writing down
Cool. So what did you come to learn tonight?
Kind of whatever you guys know. I mean, like I don't really WordPress when I do something for deploying what I want to, but at the same time it's useful for working with other clients that I have to side.
So we're set. Webcam looks okay.
Oh, well, if you go too far that way. No, other way. There. Perfect.
Okay. Great. So now that we met everyone, we are going to transition into my favorite function, and Brian is going to come up and present these. Let me switch to screen share.
Wow.
That was cool. You're set.
No, it's not.
You don't see it? You gotta click on it.
It's because the mic's off.
There you go.
Here we go.
So my favorite functions. This is a part of the meetup where we just go through one or two functions. I have these 4 here because they're a family of functions that all kind of go together, and they are to get JavaScript into your site through a plugin. And when you're first starting out with WordPress, you might start by just going to the theme and maybe inserting a script tag in the head. Not very good. You shouldn't do that. And then from that point, you might play around and get into your function.php. But if you are writing either a plugin that's kind of a feature plugin that does a lot of stuff, you might want to have your own JavaScript that goes with that, or sometimes you just want to add a little code that's independent of the themes, because when you're with the plugins, then if someone switches themes on you, then the code stays active. So these are the 4 functions we'll go through. The first 2 are really the big hitters here. When you want to have WordPress find your scripts, the first thing you should do is register your script with WordPress. And you do that with the WP register script function. And it takes a whole lot of parameters here. And the first 2 are the required parameters. You start by giving it a handle, and a handle is just a string that's a unique identifier for your script. So like everything in WordPress, you should prefix it so that you don't cause conflicts with other things, and that's the way that you keep your own namespacing. Hopefully you guys have seen that, but I'll show that later in the demo too. The source is the next parameter there. It contains the URL to the script. It needs the URL and not the file path here, because it's going to use that to insert it into the web page itself so that it can be called directly, and your browser can get it. The next one is your array of dependencies, and this here can be null by default, or you can pass it an array of strings. So if you have some JavaScript code you want to bring in to your plugin, and say it depends on jQuery, then jQuery is actually built into WordPress. So you can say this depends on jQuery, so that when WordPress goes through all the different things it's trying to do and assemble the page, it knows to bring in jQuery before the script here that you have that you're registering. Version number, is, again, another string. It'll be concatenated as a query string onto the back end of the tag. That's good if you want to update it to bus caching, so it looks like a different script, or keep track. That's optional. And then the last thing is in the footer, which is a value. If you set that to be true, then your script will come in at the bottom of the page, so that browser doesn't block on loading everything. And it's kind of a nice thing to do. The default is for your scripts to go in the head section, but you can override that here with this parameter. So once you have your script registered, then you can enqueue it into the list of scripts, because WordPress itself is going to go through a whole lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of plugins on your site. You might have, say, e-commerce. You might have a whole bunch of stuff. So by having the script registered, you can then call it. And there's a couple different rules that WordPress goes to assemble the order of scripts. That's mainly due to the dependencies that we talked about when you register it. And it also, you enqueue it with this function here so that it only gets called on the site once. So that kind of in the old days before WordPress provided facilities to get the scripts in there, you might see someone pull in jQuery 4 or 5 times, which causes nothing but headaches and conflicts. So by using these functions and by going through the facilities that WordPress provides, then you can make sure it gets in there once. And then there's other plugins that can do smart things, such as taking all the scripts, compressing them into a single script, and fancy stuff that we won't really go into today. And down here, you can't really see it, but there are a lot of scripts that come with WordPress by default. So jQuery comes with it by default. A lot of internal stuff. There's even stuff like your TinyMuch JavaScript. There's a whole list of stuff. So if you go to this page, you'll see a growing list of maybe close to 100. It's huge now, of different scripts. So that the benefit is you don't have to go out and find all these on your own. You can just reuse what WordPress comes with.
UI is in there.
And yeah, jQuery UI is in there. Prototype was in there. I think they're going to deprecate that soon, if not already, which is another popular JavaScript library. But this also gives you a common set of plugins so that everyone's working with the same code base and kind of bring all the developers on a common ground too. WordPress itself is really good at keeping the included scripts current, so you don't have to worry about someone's jQuery from 5 years ago being in there. If you're using the default WordPress one, then you'll get something relatively current to the version of WordPress that you're on. So this is showing how to enqueue the script. There's 2 ways of doing it. The first way assumes that you've registered your script, which was the first function that we talked about. If you've registered your script, then WordPress already knows about it. It knows where the URL is. It knows where it's going to go in the site. It knows what it depends on. So all you have to do is call WP enqueue script with the handle, which is the string that you gave it when you registered it, and then that'll pull it in, and you're done. You'll see sometimes people will use the compound enqueue script function where it's not necessarily required to register your scripts. If you don't have it registered in advance, you can basically use all the same parameters that you would pass to the register script to the enqueue script and give it the source, the dependencies, your version, and if it's in the footer or not. The reason most people register, just to give you a little behind the scenes, is that you might have scripts that would go on the front end, you might have some that go on the back end, and in your plugin, if it starts getting big and a lot going on in there, you can register them all at one time and then enqueue them when you need them, which we'll see here. So this is how you call the enqueue functions. When you're running your plugin, you'll write your own custom-defined plugin function. And then inside that function, you can call the WP register script and then enqueue script functions. And once you have your function prepared, then there are a couple of different hooks that WordPress has, and this is how WordPress will incorporate your functions in with the site. So there's 3 different hooks here that are actions. The WP enqueue scripts will pull your JavaScript into the front end of the website. If you want your script to work on the dashboard or the back end of WordPress, it's a different action here. There's the admin enqueue scripts, and then they have a special one for just the login screen as well, which is the login enqueue scripts. And that's just so that you don't get a lot of bloat going on in the site, slowing it down. You can have it purpose-built. So here's a little demo of how it's done. This is assuming that your plugin basics. You start with your go into the plugins folder. You make your own directory to contain your plugins file. You start your PHP file, and inside your PHP file, you have your own custom function here. You'll prefix your functions, which is best practices with WordPress. I just use XYZ here. Typically, that would be your vendor string, your company name, or something unique, so that you don't get a namespace collision in WordPress. Then you can register your script, give it your handle, which is a string. Again, I prefixed it. This here is calling my scripts, which is going to be my JavaScript file. That's going to exist inside of my plugin folder, just at the top level there. And here I'm using plugins URL, which is a WordPress function that's built in. The reason I do that is your plugins folder may not always be at the same place based on your installation. Since this is depending on a URL, someone might have WordPress deeper. WordPress may not be on the root of the site, so it may not be your site /WP content /plugins. It might be under a /blog or a WP setup. And especially if you want to ship this code, it's really good to use this built-in because WordPress knows where it is in the file system and the URLs. So by using this, it just eliminates a source of bugs and something you'll have to go fix later. This example here, I'm saying that this plugin depends on jQuery. It's going to use whatever jQuery is built into WordPress. And I gave it a version number and the last parameter true. We'll set it in the footer. If you don't have any dependencies, then this here can be null. The array parameter here will just be null. And then, since I want this on the front end of my site, I'll check if I'm on the admin panel. If I'm not, then I'll enqueue my script. I only have to give it by the handle. This handle here matches this handle here on your registration. And then WordPress has a special action, which we saw on the previous slide here. To get it on the front end, your WP enqueue scripts is your hook name, and then this XYZ add script is your function name, text string that goes here. So that's your basic plugin 101 development stuff on adding that in there. So that's the way to get your own custom JavaScript on the front end of the site. Now, the thing with the enqueue functions and the registration functions is that they can only really be called once. If you call them a second time with the same handle, then WordPress doesn't really do anything. It doesn't change the parameters that you gave it. So if you want to add dependencies or change the path or change it from the header to the footer, you can't just recall the register script function and have it work. You first have to deregister the old one and put the new one in. This is kind of a safety mechanism so that you don't have a lot of things fighting over the queue and the dependency tree. So you'll want to just keep note of that so that it's not the last winner. You have to actually pull it out. And the way that you pull it out is really simple. There is a WP deregister script, and all it takes is the handle, which is your text string, and same with the DQ script. And that's all you need to do. Commonly, once you pull something out, you'll just want to turn around and put something back in. Because unless if you're debugging things and have some kind of issue where you think there's a problem being caused, then normally you wouldn't just pull something out for no reason. So here's a demo to deregister a script. I kind of like this demo for a couple reasons. It's controversial. This is something you wouldn't really want to do because, as I was saying at the beginning, WordPress comes with jQuery. This demo will change the jQuery out from the one that comes with WordPress and use a CDN version. If you're working with clients, clients might request that sites load their scripts, especially the common ones, off of CDN, so that's pre-cached. And some people will say it loads quicker. Sometimes you'll want to benchmark this on your own on your development site and just see how it goes. But the reasons against doing this are that, especially with jQuery itself, a lot of things depend on jQuery nowadays. I mean, jQuery is kind of a base assumption that you get on websites. So by changing it out, you might cause conflicts where you weren't really expecting it with other plugins that you're working with. So if you do this, make sure that you have a site that you're in full control of, that you're testing out what you're doing, and not causing issues.
That also means you're going to have to update your version number if it changes.
Exactly. So there's another reason that you might want to do this is to lock the version in. Again, if this is a custom site that you're really in depth with, say if you're only managing one site and you know what you're doing, this is an option. But again, once you run WordPress updates, then other pieces of code might say, hey, I'm now on WordPress 3.10 or 3.12, and I expect a certain level of jQuery to be there. You yank that out and put this old one in there for your own custom development because you're not a developer who treads lightly. So, you know, it's stuff you see out there in the field. You might have collisions when you pull in jQuery off the CDNs. They're in no conflict mode, so it's something you'll have to contend with. But what we're doing is we have our own custom function here. Just again prefixed it, checking since this example is a front end example that we're not on the back end here. We're going to pull out the deregister, the jQuery that comes with WordPress, and then we'll put our own in here. We're going to call it jQuery with the same name, and this is important because this is not prefixed, where in my previous example it was, because you may have other plugins that in their dependency list depend on jQuery. This is going to change it out for all of them. So another reason you need to be careful if you do this, and using the CDN with WordPress is discouraged. Here I give it the full URL. Usually with CDNs, you don't give it a protocol name in case if you're running on HTTP or HTTPS. So it's a relative URL. Here there's no dependencies to jQuery, so this parameter is false. That normally would be your array of dependencies if you had some. And version number. Then once it's registered, like normal, then I queue it up and take my function and hook it into WordPress. Here I'm hooking it onto a init, so it happens really early on the loading of WordPress, so that other scripts aren't kind of in motion. This is happening before your enqueue scripts would be happening in the hook order.
Did you ever find a really good resource that talks about the different locations where you can hook to? Because I had a hard time finding that. I did eventually use a init, but I wouldn't think that's not always the right time to do that.
No. If you read through functions in the codex, they're getting good at saying where the preferred place to hook them into.
Is that recently?
Yeah, and WordPress documentation is a work in progress always. So it's a little hit and miss, and just depending on what you're doing, and it comes with practice and experience on the order of things. Because as you know, you don't see it often, but your add actions and hooks can also take another parameter that is your priority. So if you're doing things custom and you need things to load ahead or load after, then you can also set that priority. but that priority only runs in relation to what hook you're on. It doesn't run in relation to the full set of actions. So even if you set 100 on the init, it's still going to run at init time. It's not going to run at enqueue scripts time here.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Actually, on the call to WP register script, aren't you missing the array parameter?
No, it's this one here.
Isn't that the loaded at the
footer?
The footer?
No, that would be the last parameter, which is omitted here, just because it's optional. So,
oh, okay.
So it's going to go in the header here. So since it's omitted, that's your default value. With the register script, your only two required parameters are your handle name and your URL source.
Yeah. He could have omitted false at a version number as well.
Yeah, because you normally wouldn't be playing with this on jQuery. Any other questions?
So is the WordPress, like the core functions that are built into WordPress, are they dependent on a certain version of jQuery that never changes currently?
I would say never. It changes with versions. So 3.7 has an older version and 3.8 has a newer version.
So what I'm wondering is,
if you're on
break it.
3.8, yes, this could.
You wouldn't break it because he's got see the if not is admin. That prevents
it
jQuery from
from
being
loading into
modified.
admin.
Yeah. So it's only going to happen on the
So
front
just in plugins that, right?
In other plugins, right, they could be fighting for the same version. So your other plugins might be develop and test against the stock jQuery that comes with your WordPress core. So this is where things could get a little hairy.
But if you had control, you could, if you knew one of your plugins needed an older version, you could case switch it and
Right.
then do it for certain things, right?
Right. Yeah, and instead of just checking here on admin, you could be more specific on certain pages. You could do an is page call here, or do things on the slug. You can do other things here to select it, because this is a little redundant since, well, on this one it's not, but like I said back here, your actions, you have your different ones for calling the front end, the back end, and the login page. So by just saying that you're not on the admin page and calling on enqueue scripts and hooking on that, you're going to get that anyway. So it's kind of built in. But sometimes it's nice just to have that in there to mentally get your head in the right spot, especially if you are doing more of a feature plugin that might have things that run on the front end, might have things that run in the admin panel, so that you have a really fancy back-end panel to control your plugin. It's sometimes better for the programmer eye, so that especially if there's other people working on it, you kind of get it all in the right spot. Jeremy, do you have a question?
I was just going to say on the example with jQuery there too, I mean, jQuery in WordPress loads in no conflict mode by default, and so you can load two versions of jQuery if you needed a plugin. Like, you could prefix that jQuery with, some prefix so that only only your specific plugin or whatever you're doing, make sure it uses that specific one.
Yeah.
Everything else can use the default one without clobbering each other.
Any other questions or comments? I'll make a quick comment about the enqueue system for the scripts. There's a similar enqueue system for styles as well. So if you go into the codex, the functions are almost identical. So if you want to pull in style sheets as well, then pretty much everything I said here applies there as well. It's also the best way to avoid conflicts, to set dependencies and whatnot. Okay. Thank you, everyone.